Total Screen proudly presents their official podcast, On Screen, with your hosts, Tyson Gifford and William Rohrig. Hello, everybody, and welcome to On Screen, the official podcast of the Total Screen. My name is Tyson.
My name is Will.
And today we are going to celebrate spooky season, even though this episode will not be out before Halloween. But we are recording it before Halloween, and this is our last effort of a spooky season show. So we are covering Weapons, which just recently came out on streaming on HBO Max. That's going to be our main topic. We've also got an On-Beat segment where we've got a few news things to go over, a few trailers to go over, and our On the Horizon segment, which is where we're going to start now.
On the horizon.
On the Horizon is where we talk about what's coming up in the next week or so, and we're starting off with Crutch, which is the new Tracy Morgan comedy, which is coming on Monday, November 3rd to Paramount+. Death by Lightning, this is the James Garfield assassination attempt limited series, is coming on Thursday, November 6th to Netflix. Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment is coming out on Thursday, November 7th to Switch 2. Frankenstein, this is the Guillermo del Toro adaptation, is coming on Friday, November 7th to Netflix. It had a limited theatrical run already, but it's getting its Netflix date on November 7th. Pluribus is finally coming out on Friday, November 7th to Apple TV+. This is the new series from Vince Gilligan. We've talked about it, I think, the last 2 weeks. We talked about a teaser and then a trailer for it. Nuremberg is coming on Friday, November 7th to theaters. This stars Rami Malek from Mr. Robot and is about the Nuremberg trials for the Nazis in World War II. After World War II, I should say. Die My Love, which is a new movie with Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson, is coming on Friday, November 7th to theaters, as is Predator Badlands, also on theaters on Friday, November 7th. And that is it for our On the Horizon segment, and now we're going to move on to our news segment, On Beat. On Beat. This week on On Beat, we're going to start out with a weird story that Will dropped on me last minute right before the podcast, but we have to cover it just because it's so weird and significant. And that is that there's going to be dueling Roadhouse movies in development, as Doug Liman, who directed the recent remake for Amazon, is kind of going to war with Amazon by purchasing the adaptation rights to the sequel novel to the original Roadhouse movie from like the 80s. And he's adapting that book written by the author as Amazon is making a sequel to Doug Liman's own Roadhouse remake.
Yes.
With Jake Gyllenhaal. This is a crazy spite move by Liman, who is basically cut out of a lot of profits that he could have gotten if his movie was released theatrically. He had in his contract that he would get points on the movie based on how successful it was.
And apparently, he had promises from Amazon when signing the deal that there would be a theatrical release, and then Amazon canceled the theatrical release for the film and released it only on Amazon Prime Video, where it was hugely successful. It was like one of the most successful direct-to-streaming films of all time. Yeah, clearly.
But it wasn't theatrical, so he didn't get any of those bonuses.
Yes.
And he was kind of enraged about that. He made a lot of comments when that happened.
He dropped out of doing a sequel for Amazon, so Amazon got somebody else to do their sequel, because they are making a sequel to Jake Gyllenhaal reboot without Liman, and we thought that was the end of the story there, but now it's like Liman is going to go ahead and make his own Roadhouse 2 without Amazon.
Yeah.
Which presumably this will have a theatrical release.
What if Jake Gyllenhaal was in both of them?
Right? Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either, but that would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious, yeah.
I kind of think that we're not going to get 2 Roadhouse movies. I think this is going to be like a lawsuit, and I think it's going to be settled one way or another. I think we're going to get 1 Roadhouse movie, if that. I just can't imagine them both going all the way through production, because somebody's got to put up the money for the new one that Liman's doing, and they might not be doing it if Amazon's threatening a lawsuit, which they are, and Amazon might be held back from putting out their version if there's another version coming out with a credible lawsuit of their own against them if they try to, I don't know, it's like a whole messy situation. I don't know. This is all about like two projects that are in development. Neither of these are like for sure coming.
Right. Oh, yeah.
It's absolutely crazy though. I was telling you before we started recording, and viewers that don't know, I'm not going to recap everything I told them because it was just too much, but look up the situation about Forrest Gump and how they wanted to do a sequel to that, or how, like, the proposed sequel to that was written by the author that wrote the original book that Forrest Gump was based on, and the whole situation for that. You can read that there is a second book about Forrest Gump written by the original author that you can read, and it's basically a giant fuck you to the movie studio that adapted the first Forrest Gump, and this kind of reminds me of that. This is like a spite movie.
Oh yeah, this is 100% a spite movie.
Yeah, this is crazy. But yeah, so that is our first news story. Our second news story is that Nintendo kind of had this weird non-direct this last week.
But Nintendo didn't. Other companies voluntarily announced things for Nintendo.
Yeah, I just mean like there were 4 announcements for games coming to Switch 2 that kind of dropped on the same day. And then the next day Nintendo released like a new trailer for like Hyrule Warriors. And it just makes you think like there's enough material between this and between like the second Air Riders Direct that they did and other things like that. They could have made like a whole other Direct out of this. And there's some of the games that were announced by third parties are significant enough that they could have made a Direct, like maybe a Direct Mini, but still. It's crazy that like these all just kind of like dropped out of nowhere.
Yeah, we got Assassin's Creed Shadows confirmed for Switch 2, Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition, System Shock Remake, Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader, and like you said, a new trailer for Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah,
and
that's crazy. Like none of that was in the Direct.
Yeah, no, this was a Direct. Assassin's Creed, we knew for a while now. Like,
this is like the worst kept secret in the entire industry for like a year.
There were leaks that this game was officially rated for Switch 2. Yeah. It showed up on retailer listings, you know?
Yeah.
That was like one of the
worst
kept secrets.
It's amazing that wasn't just shown in like a previous Direct.
Yes, it is. And I don't know why. I think that has to do with Ubisoft. I think Ubisoft just wanted to announce this on their own.
As like a shadow drop, or not shadow drop, it's just like a trailer drop out of nowhere.
Yeah.
They didn't announce it at some event or some other thing. They just dropped the trailer. Oh, by the way, here, Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming this year. That's the other thing. Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming this year, which makes it even crazier that it wasn't in one of the Directs this year, you know? I mean, we had an entire partner Direct and then another Direct after that, and it boggles my mind that it wasn't in either of those. But Fallout 4 kind of makes sense. They had a whole Fallout 4 day. So it's like, yeah, okay,
they were promoting, they talked more about Season 2. There might have been a new trailer. I didn't see a new trailer for Season 2 of the show.
No,
but they released promotional posters for Season 2 of the show, at least.
Yeah.
So there was that. They announced a Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition with like a statue and some other collectibles for PC. Don't get too excited. It's literally just vanilla Fallout New Vegas, just repackaged with some collectibles for like $160.
Yeah, what was that company that made
It's not even a remaster.
What was the company that published the Lunar games? And was that Working Designs? Yeah, yes. This is like the Working Designs edition.
Yeah, the Working Vegas. Yeah, it's just it's not a remaster, it's not a remake. They didn't do anything to it, and it's only the PC version.
Yeah. The System Shock announcement kind of makes sense too. That was part of some other kind of like event or something. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't a Nintendo event. It wasn't like a System Shock specific event, but it was like, it came alongside a bunch of like trailers for like horror games, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. The System Shock remake is being done by Night Dive Studios.
I'm not sure about the Warhammer 40k thing. That might have been part of something else. I don't know. But the Assassin's Creed one is the one that blows my mind because that was just like dropped. Just like, here it is. It's on YouTube.
There it is. And the game is like almost a year old at this point. I think it'll be a year old in like, March?
Yeah, and unless the footage is like not from the Switch 2, it looks good. Like, this doesn't look like they're dropping something because it's like a shit game and they just want to get it out and forget about it.
Ubisoft did a real good job with Star Wars Outlaws.
Yeah.
In that Switch 2. So like, I have full confidence that this will be a good port, if they keep up that level of quality.
By the way, Star Wars Outlaws has a demo now on Switch 2 for anybody who wants to get that. I grabbed it myself. I have no interest in the game itself. I want to play around with it just because it is the only Switch 2 game that uses ray tracing, at least for now. Resident Evil 9 uses it too, but that's not out yet.
Right, yeah, that's out in February. I'll wait for that.
But yeah, if you want to check out ray tracing on the Switch 2, you can download the Star Wars Outlaws demo right now. That's currently
There are a couple other, minor announcements too. Nintendo announced Luigi's Mansion. The OG is coming to Nintendo Switch GameCube Online.
I think that's out now.
Yeah, I think that
came out today.
That just dropped. Nintendo announced and dropped that within the period between our last podcast and tonight. So,
like I said, they have enough for a direct here of some kind,
Yeah.
It's surprising that they didn't just do it like a direct mini with all this shit in it. Like I said, it makes sense. Fallout 4, something, System Shock, those were like parts of other events, but the Assassin's Creed thing just blows my mind. We had the main reveal event for the Switch 2, then we had a partner direct, and then we had another fall direct for Switch 2 games, or Switch 1 and Switch 2 games. And in none of those did they announce Assassin's Creed Shadows, yet they announced them really lame duck games,
And before I forget, Capcom tonight had a presentation about Resident Evil Requiem where they announced some stuff. The Resident Evil Generations Pack for Switch 2, which contains Resident Evil 7, 8, and 9.
All in a single package?
In a single package, and they also
announced key card.
They also announced a Resident Evil Requiem themed Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller and a Resident Evil Requiem Grace Ashcroft amiibo, which is coming out next summer.
Again, it blows my mind that this wasn't in the previous direct, or that they did just make a direct mini with all this shit.
So it's kind of crazy. Capcom's going all out with the Nintendo support of the new game. Making amiibos and pro controllers and stuff is above and beyond what I expected, to be honest.
There's also a lot on the rumor side of things. So this isn't part of our news coverage because it's rumors, as I said. There's been a persisting rumor that's probably true, but it's still not. There's no confirmation that Nintendo has been very selective about dev kits that they've given out to people, and that seems to kind of be over now. It seems like people are just able to get dev kits because a bunch of indie games and stuff that probably wouldn't have gotten access otherwise have just announced we have a Switch 2 version currently in development now and stuff. And there was an insider that said Microsoft has a lot of stuff coming to Switch 2. And so far, I think the only things we know are Fallout 4 and
it's
Indiana
Bethesda
Jones,
stuff.
right?
It's Bethesda stuff, funny enough.
Yeah. Is Indiana Jones Bethesda?
Yep.
Okay. Then so it's that stuff that we've gotten announced, but apparently they've got a lot of other shit coming.
Apparently, I heard, the reason games the new Halo remake they just announced.
Yeah.
And stuff isn't announced for Switch 2 is apparently Microsoft didn't get dev kits for Switch 2 until fairly recently. Long after, Nintendo's Japanese partners got dev kits.
That's what I was saying. There's been this persisting rumor about Nintendo being super selective with dev kits and who they're giving them to and stuff, including big publishers like Microsoft, But that seems to be over now. It seems like everybody's got their dev kits now. Cause like I said, there were even indie developers talking about how they have Switch 2 versions currently in development and stuff.
Yeah,
so it seems like those days are over, which means, this year's been a little slim for Switch 2. Not too bad, but a little on the slim side. Next year looks like it's gonna be nuts. Next year, it looks like the doors are just open. The flood is coming, basically, for Switch 2. But yeah, that is our coverage of the Nintendo News non-direct. And then lastly, for our news segment, we've got 2 trailers to go over. So first, we have a new movie that stars Thor, the Hulk, Catwoman, and the Joker. Really weird crossover movie. It's called Crime 101, and it's a heist film.
Yes, it's a heist film. It doesn't actually feature those characters. It's just, it's Halle Berry, Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, and Barry Keoghan. And apparently, Chris Hemsworth plays a very, high-end thief who goes after very expensive, valuable. He steals from the rich, doesn't give to the poor, as far as I can tell in this trailer. He just steals from the rich and keeps for himself. And Mark Ruffalo is the detective trailing him down.
And Halle Berry's like
it's not entirely clear.
Works for the company he's going to rob or something.
Yeah, she works for a company and he recruits her into like his scheme. She essentially becomes his inside to this heist. Like, yeah, it looks really cool. Looks like a fun movie.
I think what's really interesting is that it seems that whenever they do like the really big crossover kind of Marvel movies, there tends to be some like other movies that drop that have a bunch of the same stars in them. It's just kind of like they're in proximity of each other. So they just like worked on something else while they were there.
Right. Oh yeah, exactly.
And in this case, you've got Chris Hemsworth and Mark Ruffalo, who are both confirmed for Endgame, right? Or not Endgame, for Doomsday, right?
Yeah.
Also, Halle Berry, I think, is also confirmed for Doomsday.
Oh yeah, because she's Storm. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
And then Barry Keoghan, he played a Marvel character.
Yeah, Barry Keoghan is confirmed for Doomsday because the Eternals are going to make a surprise reappearance.
Yeah,
that's definitely happening.
So it's like they just kind of pulled them together. So stay tuned for a surprise cameo by like Robert Downey Jr. at the end of this movie or something.
Right? Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is going to be the CEO of the company they're robbing or some crap.
Yeah, it's just weird. Like this is the kind of movie that just gets made because all the people are in the same place at the same time. And they're just like, oh, what the fuck? Why not? Let's make another movie while we're here.
It's like Lex Luthor was in season 2 of Peacemaker just because the actor was available because James Gunn was shooting Superman and Peacemaker season 2 at roughly the same time.
You know that
so they were still.
I had a cane in Peacemaker?
Yeah.
That's because the actor injured his leg, like for real.
Oh, really?
But they made it look like it was this character quirk from like him getting beaten up by the dog or whatever, you know? Which I thought was kind of funny. They just kind of like worked that in. Like they had all these close-ups of his cane when he was walking and stuff. And that's literally because the actor needed a cane because he injured himself.
Yeah, Nicholas Hoult was available to do a cameo on Peacemaker because they were filming Superman at the same time.
Yeah.
And James Gunn even said in the finale of Peacemaker season 2 when, Rick Flag is selling the plan to like the national security team in that room, the same room for Superman, it's like, well, yeah, he still had that set and those actors available, because again, the proximity to filming like that allowed that to happen.
It's funny. Jeremy Renner said that he's not in Doomsday, but he recently hung out with everybody on the Doomsday set. So is he going to pop up in Crime 101 if he's not in Doomsday?
Yeah, he's definitely in Crime 101. But yeah, I mean, it looks like a fun movie.
It's like a heist film, they're always fun.
Yeah.
Even a bad heist film is like, it's like pizza or sex. Even a bad pizza or bad sex is still pizza or sex, Same thing with a crime film, heist film. Even a bad heist film is still a heist film. And then the last trailer we've got is Fackham Hall, a new prestigious Regency drama from the UK.
Yes.
Except
very prestigious.
If you pay attention to the pronunciation of the place, it's not like Downton Abbey, it's Fackham Hall.
Yeah, this is a spoof film, basically spoofing British dramas, like everything from Jane Austen to Agatha Christie.
Yeah.
Right? So you got the spoofs of like the Regency romances, and you got the spoofs of the
detective with the curly mustache.
The detective novels, with the murder and all that.
And it's just like a spoof in like the typical ways, like a Naked Gun movie or something too, where it's...
Yeah, and
It's not just references to past movies, but actually like just funny jokes that are kind of ridiculous and over the top.
There's the thing with like the chimney sweep boys, and one of them dies. It's like, he made it to 7. Oldest chimney sweep ever.
Or like at the very beginning of the trailer, like he's like hunting duck or something, and he shoots one, and then he shoots again, and you see like a deer fall.
Or like when the detective shows up, he says, "I'm here for the murder," and the guy answering the door says, "Oh my, well, you're too late for that. He's already been murdered."
He takes off his curly mustache and hangs it up like a coat.
Yeah, like a coat. So this is like a zany, like Zucker Brothers style parody film, which is, I'm glad we're starting to get more parody, because that has been a dead genre for a while.
Yeah, we got the Naked Gun movie this year, kind of brought it back, and now we got this.
And now we're getting a new scary movie from the Wayans.
Yep.
That's in development, so...
Now we just need another season of A Touch of Cloth.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It is great to see spoofs back, and not from that one company that made all the really, really bad ones. I'm glad they're gone and that it's like actual like good people making them this time. I saw several like British comedic actors that I recognized in this trailer. I don't think I know any of them by name, but I recognize them.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
But that is it for our news segment, and now we're going to move on to our final segment, full spoilers. as I mentioned previously, we are going to be talking about the new Zach Cregger movie, Weapons. This is Zach Cregger, who directed Barbarian, formerly of The Whitest Kids You Know. Comedian turned horror director, like Jordan Peele, basically. It's like the new pathway.
It's like the new pathway for comedians.
Yeah. We talked about Barbarian on this podcast before. I love Barbarian. I think it's one of the best horror movies in ages. Weapons, I was super excited for from like the get-go, like when I first even heard about it.
Oh yeah.
And,
well, it had like an incredible like first teaser, first trailer.
And well, just like the log line of the movie alone sold me before the teaser even came out. Just the log line about the kids disappearing and stuff. And then you look at the title Weapons and it's like, what the fuck is this about?
Yeah.
So I got to see this in theaters. And I've been eager to talk to you about it since. It just came out on HBO Max, so you were finally able to see it. What are your thoughts?
So, I don't entirely love this film. I think this film does some incredible things, but also I think ultimately the story is disappointing. I was kind of like, oh, okay, well that's kind of basic. So the story itself I found like kind of basic and disappointing, especially once you find out the main thing, like all the mystery and intrigue is gone, and it's kind of like, oh yeah. Once you find out about the witch, you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's okay, there's a witch doing it. So there's that. But I love the way that the story is told. I love the way it jumps around from different perspectives and the way it's framed narratively. I think like the way it's like presented is brilliant.
There's also a lot going on. I mean, this came from like a really bad time in Cregger's life. He wrote this basically to deal with the grief of his friend's death.
Yes.
It's the other guy from The Whitest Kids You Know.
The other guy.
Passed away.
Trevor Moore.
Yeah, who had passed away.
Some respect on his name.
I did say Trevor. And Trevor passed away, and Zach was going through it, and wrote this movie as kind of his way of dealing with his grief and that. And because of that, there's like a lot of stuff going on about like alcoholism, about like dependency, there's just a lot going on in this movie under the surface, like outside of like the main story that can be like read into based on that, which I really appreciated. I don't think it's as surprising as like Barbarian was. And part of that might be because we went into this after Barbarian, kind of expecting surprises.
Right, yeah.
And so you don't kind of,
also like it kind of like sets itself up for marketing as like, oh, this is going to like go somewhere insane. It presents as an intriguing mystery.
Mm-hmm.
So the first half you're kind of wondering, where is this going to go? This is weird. And they do they slow roll the reveal. Everything gets centered around the house and the people just sitting there all zombified out and shit. And you're like, okay, yeah, this is creepy as hell. And then the witch character is like introduced. And then basically from there.
By the way, a great performance.
Oh, great performance. she is like creepy.
Amy Madigan from Field of Dreams.
She is creepy as hell.
Yeah.
She is like very weird and very creepy. The one thing I don't get is when she shows up in the school and the school counselor played by, another Marvel alum.
Oh, you mean the principal played by Benedict Wong.
Yeah, Benedict Wong. She shows up. She looks all kinds of weird. And he's not weirded out by her at all.
Well, his secretary was weirded out.
Yeah. It's like, she looks like she's wearing clown makeup, dude.
He was just being very polite
weird
because they even had it where his secretary came in and was like, this is kind of weird or something, and he was like, just send her in or whatever.
Yeah, you could tell like she was like uneasy.
And you could tell he was very uncomfortable like when she arrived at his house, like that he was very uncomfortable about that.
Yes. Yeah, he was very uncomfortable about that because, she shows up and that.
I think that's just his character trait. He's just very polite,
And that makes a lot of sense too because she shows up to his house uninvited out of nowhere.
Yeah, just as they're about to sit down and eat that tray of 7 hot dogs.
Yes, 7 hot dogs, yeah. That thing.
I swear, he puts these things in like just as a joke. He can't escape his comic roots.
Oh no, there's a lot of like comedy in this too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comedic calls in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, once the witch is introduced, you basically like, oh, okay, this is a witch using witchcraft to control people.
Yeah.
So that is the story. Like, there's no like science fiction element to it. It's
You're expecting a mysterious island?
Yeah, expecting mysterious. I guess media trained me to expect government conspiracies and shit like that.
You know what's something interesting about this, and it also applies to Barbarian, that I kind of noticed in my second watch of Weapons, and then like I kind of realized, oh, this is just like a thing that Krieger's always had. And I noticed it a little bit the first time I watched it, but much more so the second time. Krieger's got a thing for doors, man. There are some really cool shots that are like disturbing, like when she's in her house and she gets the knock on the door, and it's kind of like looking down the hallway, or when she's laying in bed and she wakes up and she's looking down the hallway and can see all the way down the hallway to the door. That really reminded me of some shots that were in Barbarian that did similar things. And then it made me think of in Barbarian when the whole underground area in Barbarian was just like a hallway with all these doors and stuff, basically.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and like I was just thinking, he has this real focus on doors, and he had like the creepy stuff with the door of the house, Alex's house, opening and closing and letting people in or out and that kind of thing. And then the most impactful, the creepiest, scariest scene in the entire movie is the car door scene.
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah,
how freaky is that? Just the idea she's asleep in the car, you see the person walk right up, continues past it, and you're like, oh, I don't understand what's going on. And then you just hear the car door open. And that's all it is. You just hear the car door open and it's like, oh, fuck. It's such a scary moment, and it's just a sound effect. And, you know, it goes further, you know, the scene continues on from there, but how effective is that shot of it's just showing her, she's sleeping in her car, and you just hear the car door open. It's like the idea of feeling like you're safe within a certain confines. And that's kind of what I put together with his thing with doors, is that doors are scary because when you're in a car, when you're in your own house or something, you feel like you're protected because you're like surrounded by walls. You're surrounded by structure. But a door is like a weakness to that structure. It's a way in.
Yeah, it's a way in. That's why they make a big thing about early in the film, Julia Garner is harassed by like somebody rings her doorbell.
Yeah.
And then they bang on the door. And we realize later that it isn't the villain of the film or anything. It's just people fucking with her because, you know, they blame her for the disappearance of the children.
It's Archer, the father character, because if you remember...
Oh, was it Archer?
Well, because he had the red paint from when he painted the door the wrong color.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Archer did that. Yeah.
So this film structurally is kind of like, it's heavily compared to Magnolia. Another good example would be maybe like Pulp Fiction.
Well, they do
kind of like a non-linear, like...
it tells a story through several different point of view characters, you know.
With some of them overlapping, yeah.
Yeah, with some of them overlapping, yeah. And it does it in chapters too, with the characters' names. They announce what character you're going to be following before they start. So, you know, the first point of view character is the teacher.
Justine,
is Justine, yeah. She's the first POV, and then...
Played by Julia Garner, who's amazing in like everything.
Yes. Archer is the second POV character that we follow.
Played by Josh Brolin, by the way, who needs no introduction.
It's interesting. He's the only parent of these missing children who becomes like a POV character in this film.
There's other people we meet, including like a Justin Long cameo, which was kind of fun.
I think Justin Long is going to be like one of those people who shows up in all Zach Cregger's films.
Yeah. I don't know if he'll like always show up, but it's one of those things where like, I bet he was making weapons and he said, oh, I need somebody for this role real quick. And he just called up Justin Long because he knows him, you know?
Yeah, because he knows him. Yeah, exactly. It's a very small role, you know?
Yeah.
I was surprised to see Justin Long in this. And then we got Paul, who is a cop, also like Justine's ex. He becomes a POV character. And then this random junkie becomes a POV character. I'm like, okay.
He's a major part of tying the story together, but he's just this junkie around town. He's not like connected to the kids at all except for what he stumbles across while being a random junkie.
Right, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And of course, he meets a pretty grisly end.
Yeah. We meet Marcus, the principal. He's a POV character as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He's played by Benedict Wong.
His POV is where we first meet the witch.
Yeah. That's where it's like first made certain. We see her previously. I mean, we see her in the very first Justine one. Like, she has like a dream and she's on the ceiling, you know, like when she like goes down, like she's gonna lay back down to go to sleep after she wakes up. It's like a jump scare moment. And she's there. And then you see her again when Archer has a dream. Same thing. And then you see her again with the junkies like running through not a forest, but like a wild area, I guess. I don't know. And he like kind of sees her in the distance and he thinks he's like tripping out or something. She's like waving at him, but we're not like actually introduced to her until Marcus's POV. And that's also when we get the final confirmation that it's a witch. Although there is a really cool shot in the very first POV chapter where Justine is talking to Alex. She followed him almost home and she's talking to him. And her car, Archer had written witch on her car with red paint. We'd mentioned that earlier. And there's a single shot where you see the two of them talking, and it's the two of them and there's some distance between them, and between them you just see the word witch on her car in the background. That's the distance between them. The thing he can't talk about is right there, written on the screen between them, which I thought was kind of interesting that when I saw that on the second viewing, it was oh wow, they really kind of did that in a cool way.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
It's interestingly structured. Like I said, it's very much like Magnolia. That's the thing that it's kind of most commonly compared to in that sense. It's Magnolia horror film,
The way the story is told is interesting.
Yeah.
Zach Cregger did a fantastic job. Of course, great performances from, Josh Brolin and Julia Garner.
I think the characters are compelling too. They're interesting. Yeah. They're interesting, they're flawed, and they're believable,
Right. Oh, yeah.
Did you know that this movie kind of went through production hell? It was originally going to star Pedro Pascal.
Really?
He was going to play Josh Brolin's character, Archer.
Oh, interesting.
And Brian Tyree Henry was going to play Marcus.
Huh.
And a lot of other roles weren't even cast, and then it got, I think might have been because of the pandemic or I think it was the writer's strike, actually. Held everything back, and then, of course, Pedro Pascal, being the busiest man in Hollywood in the last couple of years, became unavailable to work on this film, and a lot of other people just weren't able to as well, so they recast it. It's interesting to think about imagining, Pedro Pascal playing Archer, or Brian Tyree Henry playing Marcus, but I think I'm happy with what we got. I think Josh Brolin really worked well in that role.
Yes.
As this very angry father. I think it would have had a different energy with Pedro Pascal. I think it still would have been good, but it's just interesting to think about what could have been. If they had gone with their original casting for Back to the Future instead of Michael J. Fox, If they had gone with, what was it, Eric Stoltz was originally supposed to be?
Yeah, Eric Stoltz was originally cast as Marty McFly, yeah.
It's just it's an interesting thought experiment of what would this have been like?
Right. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, fantastic performances throughout. I think interesting characters, relatable characters, nicely flawed characters.
Also, getting back to the concept, there was comedy in this. The final sequence.
Oh yeah, it's such a catharsis scene, but it's really funny too.
It's brutal, it's cathartic, but it's also hilarious too, because she's running away from these kids, and she's running through people's homes, and so they're all running through these people's homes, and they're standing around going, just what the fuck?
Yeah. My favorite is not even in the home, but it's the guy mowing his lawn.
Yeah.
Just sees her running from house to house, screaming, and he's what the hell? And then he looks and sees all the kids going after, right after.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw an interview with Cregger where he was talking about, somebody brought that up as a disappointing scene, that it was too comedic or something. And he was expressing that he kind of had to do that because he wanted to end on this really dour note, which the movie does. I mean, that's the cathartic moment at the end, but the ending itself is kind of dour. It goes into the idea that the kids are just barely coming to years later, and some of them are talking again.
Yeah.
Not even all of them. Alex's parents are still being fed soup, in some institution. They're not coming to. He's off living with a different aunt now and stuff.
I wonder,
it's a very dark ending.
It begs questions on how that works, because Archer basically goes back to being himself right after she's killed.
He was only under for minutes.
Yeah.
I think that's it. It's time.
It's time, yeah.
Because the kids were under it for a long time. Archer was only under it for a minute or something. And then Alex's parents were in it for several days longer than the kids were.
Yeah.
And I think it's also trauma, because I think it's a traumatic experience. And so it has that effect. It's also interesting, I've heard some people complain about, why does she show up in these people's dreams for these jump scare moments when they don't even know that she's really there? And the way I understand that, and it's not something that I've read or anything like that, just the way I interpreted it is that this is really powerful dark magic, and that leaves traces. That leaves psychic traces. And so people are thinking about this case, Justine's obsessing about it. And so it's invading her dreams because there's psychic traces of this magic in this this town. That's how I rationalize it, how it like makes sense to me. Cause like, I think if I was to write something along these lines, I would play with the idea of it leaving traces.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting theory, yeah.
It's also interesting that Cregger said that he plans on doing a prequel about the witch character, about Gladys. I don't know if that's a really interesting topic to explore or not. I mean, Gladys is an interesting character, and Amy Madigan was a fantastic actress to portray that character.
Right.
I don't know how interesting a story following up that. I almost would rather than just do something else in this world, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if Gladys Origins is like a particularly interesting idea.
I kind of like the idea that that this world has witches, and if it has witches, what else does it have?
Right, yeah, exactly.
You know, and I'd like to see like, I don't know, maybe like some movie, maybe he'll do like a vampire movie, maybe he'll do something, you know what I mean? Like, I don't mean that very specifically, but something else that like, oh, this is like vampires, but then maybe there's some hints that like, oh, this is actually in the same world. I kind of like the idea of that, about that's like, you know, maybe that's just the MCU fan in me, of like a connected universe. Like, we don't need to bring characters together, but the idea that this is all kind of happening in the same
Barbarian happened in this universe.
I mean, it could have.
Yeah, it could have, yeah.
You know, Barbarian had some stuff Barbarian was a little bit less supernatural, but even that was a little bit kind of pushing past the grounds of normalcy, you know?
Right, yeah, exactly.
The monster in Barbarian was not quite natural, you know? Like, they explain it as like a incest kind of thing, but like, that doesn't completely cover it, you know? Like, there's more to that. So, I mean, it could all be in the same universe. That would be interesting. Companion too, but it's like in the future.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so I'm glad you got something out of this. Sorry that it wasn't everything you hoped for.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it wasn't the most amazing movie. I still enjoyed it. Yeah, it's like the level of hype was like, okay, yeah, I did not live up to like the insane hype. Yeah, it did not live up to the insane hype for me, but it's fine. That is perfectly
nothing
fine.
Ever does. I mean,
this movie
I'd say the same thing about like Sinners. Like, I really liked Sinners, but it didn't live up to the hype.
Yeah, this movie has like enough going for it to like, it's like, I had a fun time.
Yeah, I still think it's probably my favorite movie of the year.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
I'd probably say this, and the other one that's in contention is probably One Battle After Another.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, which is really good too, but I have some problems with that as well. Like, I think that movie is also a bit overhyped.
Right.
But yeah, I really dug the movie, and like I said, it allowed me to kind of explore some ideas that were kind of rattling around in my head that I hadn't really gotten out. Like I said, Cregger's focus on doors is something that I really kind of took notice of on like a second viewing of this movie. And it's like little loose thoughts that had been rattling in my head since like Barbarian. But then after having seen this twice and having seen Barbarian a few times, it's like, I'm really seeing this now. I'm really seeing this. That scene was
like, even though it didn't come from the villain, it didn't come from like any of her possessed mind control puppets, whatever you want to call them when they're like possessed by her. It wasn't them. It was literally Archer at the other end. But that scene where she is just alone in her home and somebody, you know, like ringing the doorbell and banging on the door and stuff, it's like really uneasy because you're thinking, oh yeah, you're inside your home, you're safe. But it's like that door presents a paper thin weakness.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like I said, the scene with the car door, it was like horrifying. When you hear the sound of the car door opening, it's like, oh my God, you know? It's like nightmare fuel at that point. It's crazy. And that was a crazy scene to see in theaters, by the way. People, like, you could just hear everyone in the theater go like, when you heard the car door open. It was like, oh God. It was like just this like natural fear that I think almost everybody has. The idea of, oh, you forgot to lock your door and some sketchy looking guy that walks past you when you're in your car and you suddenly realize that you forgot to lock your door, and like that terrifying kind of moment, like that's what it is.
Oh yeah, it's more terrifying because like she doesn't even realize it because she sleeps right through the entire thing.
Yeah, like every sound of it, like you hear the door open, then you hear somebody sitting in the back seat. It's like you hear the scissors opening up.
And I'm like, wake the hell up!
Yeah, it's terrible, man. But yeah, That and I think Cregger's got a thing for like smashing heads.
I think so too, yeah, because that was brutal.
Let's talk about the Marcus scene real quick. Like, I don't have too terribly much else to say, but the Marcus scene begins when he's possessed, when he starts attacking his husband. He throws up like black goo all over. Were you thinking like Sam Raimi when you saw that shot?
Yeah,
like,
was.
Immediately I was thinking of like Drag Me to Hell. I was like, that reminded me of like the gypsy woman throwing up on the corpse or whatever, that scene. But that's pretty much it. Anything else to say about weapons?
Nope, I've reached the end.
All right. So next week we are going to continue the Julia Garner train because we're watching Fantastic Four First Steps, and she shows up in that as well.
She's the Silver Surfer.
That's right. So stay tuned for that next week. Until then, thank you everybody for listening. You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky. I'm at Tyson Gifford. You can follow Will on both of those platforms. He is at Voxel Hero. You can check out our website, thetotaliscreen.com. If you go to our website and open up a container story for any of our podcast episodes and scroll down to the bottom paragraph, you'll find links to our SoundCloud page, our RSS feed, all the relevant links to our social accounts. It's all there. You can also subscribe to this podcast through your favorite podcast kind of choice, like Apple Podcasts or Pocket Cast, and the entire backlog of our podcast, as well as additional content, is available on our YouTube channel, which again you can access by going to our website, thetotaliscreen.com. Thank you everybody for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you for listening to the OnScreen podcast, the official podcast of The Total Screen. Visit our website at thetotaliscreen.com. This podcast can be found on any major podcast client, including Pocket Cast and Apple Podcast. The entire backlog of this podcast and other content can be found on our YouTube channel.